Right. So next we have Mastering Intraoperative Gonioscopy by Dr. Shweta Tripathi.
Pointer. Yes. It's not coming here.
Audio people, please help.
The projection is not on the screen. Yes.
Yeah.
So very good morning to all, and thank you AIOS for giving me this opportunity. So we are going to talk about the intraoperative gonioscopy. So why that is so important? Because in this emerging field of glaucoma surgeries, when we talk about MIGS, that's minimally invasive glaucoma surgery, we have to master a skill that is intraoperative gonioscopy. So why MIGS is gaining so much of popularity? That's because of its internal approach, minimal trauma to the target tissue, modest efficacy but excellent safety, that is the key point, and rapid recovery with minimal impact on the quality of life. So if we want to choose from the different MIGS bouquet, the only requirement would be a perfect skill acquisition, that is a perfect intraoperative gonioscopy. And what do we need for that? We have to consider the points from starting from the pre-operative time to the intraoperative and the post-operative. Pre-operative, what all we can do just to finish our homework would be OPD-based gonioscopy, to master that gonioscopy in your OPDs to the larger extent. Why? Because they will help you to choose your cases accordingly, because they will help you to differentiate between a closed and an open angle. Also, it will help you to plan the surgical procedure. How? The answer comes here, that if you see an open angle, then there itself you can think in your mind that, okay, for this patient you are going to plan a canal-based surgery, that's via the trabecular meshwork, or you can go for a suprachoroidal-based surgery, that is via the ciliary body face. Anesthesia is mandatory for all the cases, especially when we are starting the cases in the beginning, because they will take care of the involuntary eye movements and will give you the perfect akinesia. Now this is the very important part of the presentation, the choice of the gonio lenses. Starting from the different choices, they do vary in degree of corneal contact, field of view, magnification and handle length. But ultimately it comes down to what works best in your hand. So basically the first step is to make a coordination in a hand and microscope. Here normally during surgeries we are taught hand-eye coordination, but here it would be along with that hand microscope tilting. If you see, the patient is positioned 35 to 40 degrees away from you and the microscope is tilted 35 to 40 degrees towards you. Again, going for a perfect alignment in this video, you see that the patient is shifted away from you, and since the patient is shifted away from you, the chair height is adjusted because now he has gone far beyond you. Change in the magnification is required to see the angle structures clearly. And last but not the least would be the microscope posturing towards you. So this is how, after the perfect alignment of the system next to you, with your non-dominant hand, that is your left hand or right hand, whichever, you hold the lens and you place it over the cornea after a copious amount of visco over the cornea. Now when you talk about the corneal incision, majority of us, we are doing it through the same phaco incision from where we perform the cataract surgery. So basically you have to put a visco-dispersive and a visco-cohesive. Placement of the gonio lens after that. And here we start with the journey. So the first case I'm going to show you is a simple releasing of the peripheral anterior synecdoche through a simple cyclodialysis spatula. As you see that this was a case of a 67-year-old gentleman who presented to us with advanced cupping. So after performing the cataract surgery and the cataract part for him, we went ahead and we placed the gonio lens over the cornea after placing the visco. This was the visualization of the angle we were getting. So initially when, especially for the residents, if you don't get the views, don't get disheartened. You have to just align the instruments clearly. Now if you see, the view is going off. So what we do is, because of the corneal folds, you get to know that means you're putting an inadvertent pressure by that gonio lens over the cornea, and you see that some amount of heme is also obscuring your view. No problem. Take out the gonio lens, wash it off, put less pressure over the gonio lens, and now you see that there is a much better view. So this is how, with the help of a cyclodialysis spatula, you release the synecdoche. See the movements of the spatula, and gradually the angles are opening up. By I can say a dab movement and a tweak movement. Both directions you break the synecdoche, and this is how you achieve an open angle where you can even perform a further goniectomy as well. So now going to the second part, that's a bent ab interno needle, which is most commonly known as bang these days. So here you see that after placing the lens again, see a much clearer view we are obtaining here. So now if you see, here is the TM, and there you put that 24 gauge bent needle via the gonioscopic view, pinch over the TM, pick it up, and there you go ahead with a sliding movement, and you cut and excise the TM. After excising to certain clockers, you again go ahead and take out that portion of TM. Now, with that, the advent of KDB helped us a lot in this field, because when you excise with TM, there are studies which says that after some time the strictures does happen. So this introduction of KDB has really helped us. So in this case, if you see, after performing the phacoemulsification, the lens placement, a copious amount of visco is put over the cornea. The gonio lens is placed. I generally use the Swan-Jacob lens. Now see the angle structures which are clearly visible here. Now the KDB, this is the KDB which is gone inside. KDB is basically a glide blade. And with the help of the gonio lens, again you see nicely the cleft is created in this part. Again moving into the opposite direction, you see the cleft is created here, and you move in the opposite direction as well, and you excise the TM to the extent you want to, and that is the end of the surgery. So the beginner's guide, when you're planning to start a MIGS, ask to yourself certain questions. Why offer a MIGS? For only to mild to moderate glaucomas, not ask for the advanced glaucomas. What skills do you need? Which MIGS? Again, for the beginners, the suggestion would be always go for a TM based procedure. Never offer as a beginner more than one MIGS procedure. And what should be done before a MIGS surgery? That's the most important part, the documentation, informed consent, and avoid MIGS if inflammation is present. So I conclude my talk with a saying by Confucius, who says, I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. It does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop. Thank you very much.